I have a clown world story for you this morning, not Dear Emery. A day off from Dear Emery to bring you live in person clown world story. You are going to love this one. I don't run into many of these anymore at this point in my career, but clown world experience last week. So to make a short story long story short, last week I had 2 phone calls with 2 separate businessmen to apply for membership into our World Builder Brotherhood Mastermind, our World Builder Mastermind. That's a program that I run every second Wednesday. It's for top 5% businessmen who are looking to take their life and their business to a top 1% level. Everything, their marriage, their money, their marketing, their wealth. We have a fantastic group of men that I've been working with now for a couple of months. So really a lot of fun. So normally a person who's interested in joining the World Builders Brotherhood, they go to the 20-page sales letter. Every single question there is answered. Who is it for? Who is it not for? What is the price? What are the expectations? What are the topics we're going to cover? What are the benefits? What's good about the program? Who it's exactly for and who it's exactly not for. There isn't anything that I haven't covered in terms of that mastermind program. If you can read and if you have the ability to focus and read. So these 2 sweethearts that I dealt with last week, both of them asked Leanne after they filled out their application. They went to the sales page and then they filled out the simple 5-page application. It's some simple questions. Tells us a little bit about your family situation, your business situation. And one of the questions is, do you have the financial resources? It's an expensive program. It's $10,000 for the year. So one of the qualifying questions is, do you have the financial resources? I don't care if you do or you don't, but there's no sense applying for a program that you can't afford. So it's a clear as kind question. So of course, both of these men were, yes, I have the financial resources. So something happened, a red flag, and it's interesting because the way I've designed my business, Marc-Andre and Leanne and I have put together a system that repels 99% of the prospects and clients that we do not want. That's for our book, that's for our monthly newsletter, that's for our masterminds, anything and everything. We market ourselves to attract a very specific elite man, an elite husband, father, an elite businessman and community leader over the age of 45 who is looking to build the championship world of his dreams. It's an elite man who wants to become a hero in his own home. He wants to build his legacy, not just success, but significance. All the guys I work with want to go from success to significance. They're already successful. They already have, they've already won in business, but maybe they're struggling in another area of their life. So they want significance, not just success. Big difference. So very rarely do I ever have to get on the phone and talk to anybody about joining anything. I do talk when guys apply for my Champions $50,000 mastermind, I do get on the phone for half an hour just to make sure that that's the perfect candidate. We don't want anybody in there that doesn't have the right attitude. And I don't want anybody in my masterminds that isn't coachable. I don't give a shit how much money you have. I don't care how successful you think you are. I don't care about any of that stuff. If you're not coachable, you're not coming anywhere near my two masterminds. So that happens at the champions level, and that way I get the cream of the cream, the best of the best at the champions level. But at the world building level, the commitment being $10,000, 99.9% of my brothers that are in that program, they read the sales page, they decide whether it's for them or not for them. It really isn't for most people. Like 2/3 of men, read the sales page and they're like, well, I'm not putting in the work. I'm not willing to put in that work. I don't want it bad enough. And that's fine, because I don't want anybody in that program that isn't hungry and coachable. So these two guys, like everybody else, most people, the 99.9% of the guys that they fill out the application, and then we get a copy of the application, and Leanne prints these off. She physically prints these off, and I take a few minutes and study them. And I can tell by reading the answers to the questions whether a man is a good fit or not. I can tell right away. And then I check their websites. I check we do a full screening of their social media footprint. That's a lesson for you right there. Whenever I was ever hiring, or whether I was recruiting a hockey player, or whether I was trading for a hockey player, first and foremost, we would do an entire Google search, social media footprint search, the whole shebang on a person's history, which in most cases is right there online in front of us. So I do that with mastermind members as well. Guys that I don't know, just to be certain. So, and then after I've done that, then it's a yay or a nay. It's a hell yes, or it's a hell no, like everything else in my world. And then if it's a hell yes, Leanne texts and emails them and sends the link, and they pay and they're in. They start the next week, period. Simple procedure. Hell yeah or hell no. So if it's a hell no, we always email or text the person back, and Leanne lets them know it's not a good fit. Maybe down the road when they're more serious or more coachable, but not now. So that's how 99.9% of men join my World Builders Mastermind, but not these two experts. And it was eerie how familiar these two experiences were for me on the phone last week. I said to Marc-Andre yesterday, they could have been brothers. It's almost like they were two parts of the Hanson brothers from the hockey movie Slapshot. Literally, I visualized them looking the same, being the same, acting the same, joined at the hip. And both of these guys were disasters. So I'm not on the phone very often anymore with clients or prospects. So this was a different experience, but Leanne asked me, she said, Michael, there's two guys that applied this week for World Builders, but they both have questions. And it's my fault. Admittedly, it's my fault. I should have known that was a huge red flag. And that's how you want to set up your business when it comes to curating and swift sorting and cutting the rope and repelling, nuisances. You want to have tripwires that bring red flags, that you say, no, I don't want to write that policy, or no, I don't want to accept that flooring quote. I don't want that person as a prospect or a client. They're going to be a royal pain in the ass. So you need tripwires to rid yourself of nuisances. As Marc-Andre always says, good riddance You need tripwires to rappel. So we have done a really good job in that area, but there's no system that's foolproof. Some of these tomato cans just find their way in to your world. And when you do make a mistake, what I really recommend to you is that you correct the mistake as quickly as you possibly, good morning, as quickly as you possibly can. That's the secret. I made a mistake in this situation, and we needed to remedy don't compound the problem. So the red flag should have been that they needed to talk to me on the phone. And like, everything's on the sales page, right? Like, everything's on there except how tall I am. Like, why in the world do you need a phone call to make a simple decision like this? It's not a lot of money. You're either in or you're out. And all the information is on the sales page, but you decide that you need to talk to me about something. So that's a red flag right there. Like, what do they need to know? My birthday? Do they need to know my favorite color? Because everything else is on the sales page. Everything else is on the sales page. But that should have been a red flag for me, that they're nuisances. That they don't think, they don't study, they don't read, they're distracted, they're sedated, they're medicated, they're just, and that's a red flag for digital addiction as well. They're phone addicts, and they can't focus and they can't read. So they're time vampires, they're energy vampires, and it was my fault for not recognizing this. So to make a short story longer, I get on the phone. Both of these are scheduled phone calls. I only do scheduled phone calls. I don't take phone calls, I make phone calls. Big difference. So I scheduled these, Leanne scheduled these 2 calls, and it was no big deal. I was at the pool one day, and I slipped away home, and so I'm a pro. I don't take phone calls at a pool. I don't take them in my car. I don't take them when I'm taking a piss at a restaurant like some of you guys. I'm a pro. When I have a scheduled phone call, in most cases I'm using a landline. I'm in my home office. I'm uninterrupted. There's no distractions whatsoever. So I conduct myself as a pro. I show respect for the other person on the line. And they're scheduled. I don't take random phone calls. Zero neediness. I have zero neediness. So one of these calls was for 3 p.m. and the other was for 12 noon. Perfect times. I've won my morning. I'm conquering the chaos of the afternoon, and I'm going to be investing the time in the evenings with the people that matter the most to me. So good times to be on the phone. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details of both phone calls, but when I phone both men, first of all, the second guy, it went to voicemail twice. Think about that. It went to voicemail twice. So this is a guy who's running a business, and it was his business number because his wife came on, and the voicemail was the business number. It went to voicemail twice. So because he's using his cell phone for business, he's providing awful service. Amateur hour, clown world. And the other guy, he picked up right away, and he had no clue who he was talking to. I was just another random caller because he's just reacting, right? He's punch drunk. He's been on his phone since 6 a.m. This is just another interruption. This is just another crisis coming. So he was like, hello? That's how he answered he's in the professional services. Both of these guys are in the professional services, by the way. These aren't roofers answering a phone call on the job site. This isn't a guy answering the phone in a busy pizzeria or golf club. These are professional service guys that don't have the professional part. So both of them answered the phone. They had no clue finally the guy called me back. Neither of these guys had a clue It was like, oh yeah. They had no idea really about what I was calling about. Finally, you know, after a couple minutes of trying to build some rapport, I asked these two guys, I said, you know, Leanne said you had some questions about the World Building Brotherhood. So these guys, you hear their employees coming up to them. They're completely lost, distracted. The noise in the background is deafening. Like, it sounded like one guy was on a construction site. The other guy, he had employees coming up to him and whispering in his ear. He a couple of times, can you hold on? Can you hold on a minute? Can you imagine? Can you hold on a minute? Like, it was unbelievable. Both of them disconnected and lost the calls. Both of them lost the calls. So about 10 minutes in, both guys dropped the calls. Like I said, these guys are like brothers. They had the blueprint for losing down. It's like they traded notes in class. Okay, this is what you do to lose. This is what you do to fail. This will guarantee that you show up like an amateur. And it was just, it would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. So they both dropped calls, called me back instantly. Sorry about that. My earbuds, he's on earbuds. He's like 12 years old. My earbuds died, or, you know, doesn't even know what a landline. These guys are not kids. These guys are in their 40s, right, and 50s. So once again, they're adults. They're scared little boys, right? Scared little boys pretending in pretend business. So I get through that. I ask them a few questions. They have no clue how to answer the questions because they don't know how to think. They don't know how to think. They're those guys I talk about. I talk about this in my newsletters and my mastermind, is a lot of people haven't been thinking for the last 25 years because the internet exploded 25 years ago plus, and smartphones and all this other stuff. So if a person's a cell phone junkie, you know, you haven't been thinking for 25 years. So that's a lot of brain damage day after day. So in their case, their brains are damaged, right? They've been pounding their brains day after day, and they're suffering from what I call digital dementia. In other words, they can't focus, they're distracted, they're anxious, they're just all over the place. They're like and they got the goldfish 3-second, they got the mosquito attention span. Your brain is a muscle. If you're tearing your muscle apart every day with technology, you know, if it's your bicep as an example, you can go from a championship bicep to a muscle that is, you know, destroyed. So that's what these chumps were up to. Couldn't focus, couldn't follow a question. Just a second, sorry. You know, people whispering in their ears. It was almost a comedy skit. So, and it was amazing that these were back to back because I haven't done any calls whatsoever for this particular type of mastermind. Good morning. So anyways, you always have to learn from these things, right? I was talking to Leanne and Mark. One other red flag that came up that I didn't know beforehand, and next time I'm going to get Leanne to let me know as soon as possible. Good morning. The big thing is one of these clowns treated her rudely. And when I say rudely, he was just abrupt. When she said, "Congratulations, you've been accepted into the World Builders program," he was like, "Well, I want my call." Like, he was rude and abrupt, or, you know, like as if he's trying to get something out of me. And that should have been a red flag. And again, I'm responsible for that. But anybody, like I have, this is why I don't cater to quitters. Anybody that is less than professional or rude with Leanne or Mark Andre, if you ever have the pleasure of dealing with him, you might as well be just talking to them. If you're talking to Leanne, you might as well be talking to me. So if you're rude or you're not professional, well, I'm going to fire your ass. And this would have never got any further if Leanne had let me know about that. And that's her job to let me know about that. She's a really, really solid person who is not easily offended. She has thick skin and she has a stiff spine, so to speak. So she gives people the benefit of the doubt, especially somebody she's meeting. So she gave this tomato can the benefit of the doubt. And he didn't deserve it, and next time we'll learn from that. But that would have been a red flag right there during the application process, that he was rude and short. That's the exact opposite of the person I want. I don't want anybody in my brotherhood that doesn't have, courtesy and manners and etiquette. That's the last thing I want. So I didn't look after my own red flags. I hadn't been on the phone in a while, so I was, lots of rust on me in terms of that kind of stuff. So it was a relearning experience. You have to relearn these things all the time, and I had a chuckle over the whole thing because it didn't affect me or abrupt my day or anything like that. I was hanging out at the pool one day with Emery and Krista, and I took half an hour for one, and the other one I just did in my home office. So it wasn't world shattering, but I can't stand it when my finite time and energy is wasted by clowns like this. So I asked myself, I said, what can I learn from this? Well, first of all, what I've concluded is that these are just a couple of red flags that we need to watch for when it comes to prospects demanding a phone call, especially at this level. And I think Leanne and Marc-Andre and we agree that, when I ran, so far, every single man that's in the world building program, not one single man in there, and we have a fantastic, outstanding group. Not one of those men ever asked for a phone call. They paid their 10 grand. They said, what time, where should I be? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. And wow, great students. They proved they were coachable, and they proved that they had a championship attitude right off the bat. Just like hiring a person, you hire for attitude, you hire for coachability. All the skills, that stuff's all teachable. But you can't teach a person who's got a closed mind. You can't teach a person who has a toxic attitude. So when you're hiring personality, attitude, and coachability, well, it's the same with mastermind members. You have to have men with the right attitude. You have to have men that are coachable. You have to have the whole package. So when you hit a red flag like that, it's better just to cut the rope instantly. So for next time, if somebody's rude with Leanne, boom. Whether it's a mastermind member or a newsletter subscriber, I'll know about it, which I usually do, and that person will be put on waivers and gone. Life is too short for lack of manners and etiquette. I don't tolerate it. I never tolerated it in my insurance business. I never tolerated it with my hockey franchise. I never tolerated it with my barber shop. I sure as hell am not going to tolerate it with my coaching and consulting business. And secondly, Marc-Andre and I talked a little bit about this. The red flag for me was the demand of a phone call. That's a red flag for a time vampire. That bloodthirsty, blood-sucking vampire that's looking to grab time and energy wherever they can. They're a dark cloud that goes everywhere. They leave everything they touch worse than they get it, than they got there. It's all about them. They're completely checked out. They're scared little boys, showing up as little boys in their world. and just a circus, an absolute circus. So when I got off those 2 phone calls, by the way, I felt the anxiety, I felt the stress, I felt all the emotions that they would have been going through in their life, and I didn't like it. Like, I had to jump in the pool, and on the other one I went for a walk. I did some road work, because just talking to those guys, it gave me a feeling of what their business looked like. It gave me a feeling of what their life was like. It gave me a feeling of what it would be like to react to every tweet, to every text, to every email, to every ding and bing. And it gave me a look into what it would be like to never have any freedom or control or personal sovereignty. And that's what it was. It was like, wow, that's a little bit of what my life used to look like. And that scared me shitless, talking to those guys. And again, that's a lesson for me. I would never, ever, ever, ever want to live a day, an hour of their life. And it's all by choice, right? We choose our lives. We choose the people in our lives. We choose how we do business. You choose who you do business with. You choose how you use a cell phone. You choose how you use screens and the internet. We choose how we raise our children, how we interact. We choose our relationship with our queen, all of these things. We literally build our world every single day. So that was a real wake-up call for Yours Relentless. I was like, wow, I wouldn't wish that life that they're living on my worst enemy. And I sincerely say that. I would not wish that lack of control, lack of freedom, lack of peace of mind on anybody, including my worst enemies. I can guarantee those 2 men are suffering from manufactured mental illness. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. One was talking to me about health issues. The other was talking to me about mental health issues. And I'm like, no shit. You know, you're buried in your phone. You're buried in your business. You're just reacting to everything that's happening. You're lost, you know. And then they both had the audacity to say, I'd like some help starting my own coaching business. And I had to cover the phone so that I didn't laugh in their ear. But like, what the fuck would you coach? You know, I guess there's lots of pretend experts and fake gurus out there. I mean, the world's full of them, right? Who have never won anything. It's the bottom of the barrel, right? It's the coach or consultant who, number one, has never won in the arena they're teaching in. In other words, I'm going to teach you how to market and make money, but I've never marketed or made money. The only thing they do is they marketed that program. And secondly, they aren't continuing to win either. So they never won any championships in their life. And they also are not presently winning unless you buy their program. So very, very interesting. That's what these 2 clowns would become, right? They would teach other entrepreneurs in their business. What would they teach them? How to live a life of a goldfish, a mosquito? How, you know, like, what would they honestly be able to teach another man? They wouldn't be able to teach them anything. So as soon as I heard that part, I got a good laugh out of that one. So I want to share this story with you because it was another reminder, wake-up call for me that why I've built my businesses the way I have, why I've built them around having great clients, great customers, great book readers. It's the reason that I sell physical books. It's the reason that we're transitioning into 95% offline advertising. I want my clients to be readers. I want them to come from, good morning. I want them to come from magazines like Forbes and Inc. and the Robb Report and Success, where we're going to be testing ads. I want my prospects and clients to be book readers, newsletter readers. I want them to be able to consume a 35-minute video and not bounce around like some little scared little boy on TikTok. They actually have focus. They actually can focus. They can learn. They can take notes. They have the ability to study. So these are all the things that I work on attracting. But you have to be relentless. It's never ending. And you get what you accept, you get what you tolerate. If I would have continued to tolerate, guys like that, well, guess what? I would have got more of that. And the only person to blame would have been Sir MJM, yours relentless. It was always my fault. And that would have been a case where I would have, if I didn't raise my standards and send both those guys to the curb, well, there's nobody to blame but the man in the glass. So that's it for today. Remember, in your personal life and your business life, make sure you're repelling the people that you don't want and make sure you're attracting the people that you do want. It's a two-prong approach. This is exactly for this person. This is exactly not for this person. And for the ideal client, they'll always say, man, this is exactly for me. And for the person you don't want, they'll always say, I don't want this. This is not for me. Set up your business and your life like that. Guard, put the walls up, and only allow the people in your world that belong there. Only allow things that support you, positive people, positive things, positive substances, positive habits, and curate this new year all of the toxics. All the toxic associations, all the people, all the drugs, the alcohol, the gambling, whatever it is, the time vampires, the energy vampires. Get rid of it all and watch what happens to your world. That's it. If you'd like help implementing what I talk about here every morning, the first thing to do is buy a copy of my paper and ink book. I don't do the mosquito or goldfish ebook. I don't do the tomato can go fetch PDF books. I sell real books. What a concept, right? You can get a copy of my real book at nobullbook.com. That's nobullbook.com. If you've already got a copy of my book and you want to go deeper into my teachings, you need to subscribe to my real paper and ink, mailed in your mailbox, Michael McLean World Building Newsletter. It's a newsletter I write every month and I ship it to your home or your office. It's about 20 to 22 pages of what I'm doing in my life over the last month. It's not emailed, it's not a PDF, it's a real newsletter that I send to you, ship to you every single month. Go to badassletter.com, badassletter.com to subscribe to that. And finally, if you want to be joined at the hip with some of the best, top 5%ers looking to get to top 1% in their marriage, in their marketing, in their money, you want to grow from 5 figures to 6, to low 7, then apply for a seat at my World Builders Mastermind. That's badassworldbuilders.com, badassworldbuilders.com. You fill out the simple application like these guys couldn't, and you read the sales page, you study it. Is this for you? It probably isn't. Is my coaching for you? I'm probably not the coach for you. 2 out of 3 times I'm not. That's no problem. I don't care either way. But if it is a fit, you apply at badassworldbuilders.com, and then I'll look over your application. I'll study it, decide whether you have the right attitude and whether you're coachable. If you are, I'll put you in the program. There's 2 spots available to the end of January. There's only 2 seats left in my mastermind. If you want to grab those and not be left on the sidelines, go to badassworldbuilders.com right now and apply for your seat. That's it. A short story long. my style. All right, 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change yours. Be relentless.